Steeped in lore and legend, the Sierra National Forest is no stranger to curses, hauntings, and some really rough terrain. In June of 2020, in the midst of a global pandemic, 54-year-old Sandra Hughes disappeared into the wilderness without a trace. Sandra was an avid outdoors woman. She wasn't a stranger to what the wilderness had to offer. Having had ranger training, she knew how to survive in remote areas. In Sandra's last correspondence with her family, she told them where she intended to be. She told them she was going to the Sierra National Forest. All contact came to a stop days later. Authorities found her campsite only to find it in such a state of disarray. Her car's front end was bent inward, no blood, no signs of a struggle, other than the campsite being disheveled. Days later, there would be multiple sightings throughout the area of a woman wandering the forest, only for authorities to get there and to find nothing. This is the case of Sandra Hughes.
Okay, in July of 2020, 54-year-old Sandra was unemployed. She was wanting to make changes to her life, and so she quit her job and filed for divorce. She said goodbye and set out to travel. Despite her travels, Sandra kept in touch with her family, keeping them up to date on all of her adventures. Sandra worked odd jobs to keep her cost of food and travel covered. Having just purchased a sab from one of her previous employers, Sandra began to accumulate camping supplies before driving out to the Sierra National Forest. Being as knowledgeable as she was about the outdoors, her family didn't need to feel the concern that she was doing this. It was odd that she was going out and doing so. She camped all the time. So in July of 2020, a family that was in the area called the Madera County Sheriff's Office to report what happened to be an abandoned campsite that appeared to have paperwork and items all thrown about. Around 9 a.m., 2 local authorities responded to the call and checked out the abandoned campsite. So police came out, noticed, that things were thrown about. The authorities find a purple folder that contains Sandra's birth certificate, her social security card, and family contacts. Deputy Williams called one of the numbers that just so happened to be Sandra's niece. Deputy Williams told Sandra's niece that she was the reasonable suspicion. Wow, I'm so sorry, my tongue tied right there. That Sandra was missing. Her niece then told the deputy that Sandra had been traveling around for the past year or so. Later, Officer Wise, a U.S. Forest Service officer, had driven out to Sandra's campsite. The campsite is still abandoned and untouched. Officer Wise took pictures and everything, then processed together everything that was left behind. Everything from clothing, her sleeping bag, her boots, her jackets, and along with some canned goods. The local authorities had started to suspect that Sandra could be in danger at this point. No recent calls to family, and her belongings were left behind. Local authorities posted online and set out missing person flyers locally, and I know her family did too. I believe her niece did. Her niece Ashley. I believe I read that on Facebook. And she was also on Facebook a lot with the missing persons flyer, posting and updating people. I found that on there too. Authorities had also contacted Verizon Wireless to ping her phone. Verizon told authorities that the phone was either shut off or dead. Verizon confirmed the last ping was on July 1st around 11 a.m. The location was at the same coordinates as her abandoned campsite. The first the witness claimed Sandra was wearing a tank top and shorts in 30-degree weather.
That would be kind of odd to come across somebody in the Sierra National Forest when you know it's that time of year for that area to be a little bit colder than normal.
And wet.
Yeah.
It was very wet down there. She was in a meadow.
Yeah, so to see someone underdressed for the climate, for the area, that would be a little off-putting.
Yeah. Very, actually. Because then it's a straight suspicion, like, is this person okay? Are we good? Are you okay?
Yeah, so with the witnesses being surprised that Sandra wasn't wearing something warmer, later that same day, Deputy Williams receives another phone call. Another witness claims to have seen Sandra. And this happens throughout the course of the upcoming days, where the witness claims that he and his friends that were camping in the area seen Sandra the day before on July 4th near Mugler Creek. So the witness describes the abandoned campsite along with her vehicle being parked up between some trees. So the witness then tells Deputy Williams that Sandra was standing there and she just smiled and waved. Like she was just fine and she was just waving them on. So as him and his friends passed, they didn't assume anything
was wrong.
Yeah. So Deputy Williams then asked for the coordinates for the sighting of which the man gave him. However, later the same day, the same man called back claiming to have seen Sandra again, but this time at Red Top Mountain.
A totally different area.
A totally different area, which was further north than his last sighting. Now, there are reports, though, of her being barefoot.
Which, in the picture that they first broadcasted of her missing, she was also barefoot. So it seemed like she commonly did.
But, however, in that kind of terrain,
that was not common.
Yeah, and it's a little rough on the feet, I would imagine.
Yeah, you would not. I mean, like grass in a meadow, maybe. In a forest, no.
No, because it's rocky, it's rough, it's steep. You have a lot of deadfall, I would assume.
Yeah.
So here, Deputy Williams called Officer Wise again to ask if she could go back to Sandra's campsite to see if maybe Sandra had returned. So there goes Officer Wise. She goes out, she checks the alleged sighting, and along her way, she met with a man who claims that he spoke with Sandra the day prior on July 4th. That he asked her if she needed any help, but she was persistent and said she was fine. The man stated that she appeared to have a few minor cuts and scratches and maybe some bruises, but otherwise seemed fine.
I remember there was a statement that somebody seen her, it must have been him, that she did have a bruise on her face, and that was a little concerning to them, and that's why they had asked.
Yeah. So he didn't seem any cause for concern for her safety, but he went to her campsite to see if she was okay, see if she was there. He was feeling a little concerned, but Sandra wasn't there. So back at the campsite, it appeared again as if someone had been there at one point, but she always seems to be gone every time someone shows up. But in the back of her vehicle, she had water and other very important camping supplies. Later, Deputy Williams had met with a search and rescue team that Sandra's family had hired, but all efforts to find her were unsuccessful.
She's very good at hide and seek.
A few other sightings and searches later, still no traces of Sandra at this point. Some of these sightings could have just been either someone else or a case of mistaken identity. Later, a friend of Sandra's that was contacted to see if she had an idea of her whereabouts. The friend claims that she had not spoken with Sandra for a while. The friend claims that she had cut off contact with Sandra because Sandra had joined a New Age cult and started talking about things like Bigfoot and fairies, and it made her feel really uncomfortable.
I mean, there are people that believe in stuff like that, and to each their own, you know. But if you don't, it could be a little uncomfortable. Like, there's people don't believe in things like that. There's people out there that do, and there's people that don't.
Right. So the sightings started happening a little less frequently until July 19th, when the search for Sandra was officially called off. Some of the sightings would mention that Sandra being barefoot or only having had flip-flops on. In the terrain she was in, it would have been only a matter of time that her feet would have become hurt.
There's no way her feet didn't get hurt. Sticks, rocks.
Oh yeah, and like
there has to be. It's a forest.
I
Like,
mean, not just that, but like moisture on your feet. That's gotta cause some issues.
I can't imagine her being barefoot or even with flip-flops that whole time.
Me either. Like, I like being barefoot outside, but I could not imagine being weeks.
Yeah, because these sightings, I believe, were the ones that you're talking about were recent, but there was one that was like a year later on, and they seen her. Somebody seen her. So there's no way she went that long without shoes.
No.
And I don't know. This whole case is a little suspicious to me. It's sad. If what happened, whatever, you know, your theory is to this case, could have happened to her. To my theory, it's sad.
Yeah.
Being out there in the wilderness, like, yeah, she went to school, she went to college for park ranger. She was going to be a park ranger, so she knows how to survive out there.
Right.
She knows how to survive out there for a while. But
now with authorities taking what was left in her car.
And why wouldn't she take anything with her? That's the thing. Why would she leave a whole campsite and her car with all her supplies?
Only for authorities to later confiscate it all.
Yep. For her to lose it all. You know what I mean? And now this case is now 6 years old and they still haven't found anything that I know of, that I found.
Yeah, I haven't.
I mean, maybe, I'm hoping someday they do. So, just to give the family, some closure.
Yeah.
So, can I give a little description about her?
Yeah.
So, we already stated that she's 54 years old at the time. She's 5'3", she weighed 153 pounds. She had brown hair, but her hair was dyed blue at the time of her disappearance. She had brown eyes. The clothes that she was last known is unknown of what they were. You know, we have the tank top and the shorts as a witness. She was staying in a remote area. Through photos, we've seen that her car was fully prepared. You already said that. So she could survive out there a little while. You said that she was seen in a couple different outfits, which we already stated that. And yeah, that was my little description of her. Give a little detail. I didn't, in the picture, she seems a lot taller than 5'3".
She did to me too.
Okay, so I have a couple more notes here. So this is the end of sightings, correct? So let's go into theories. The police have no evidence that she was hurt or anything like that. They only have the witness that said that she might have had some scratches or a bruise, but we're not 100% sure. Again, this is all alleged. She has good wilderness and can sustain herself in the wilderness for a while. The only thing that they could do at this point is just continue to search. They fully believe that she is alive at this point. This is still an open case to this day. People have said that maybe she was super nervous about COVID and that's why she didn't ask for help when people seen her. You know, just the whole 6 feet. And originally she went out there during COVID to get away from everybody and to get away from all of that, so she could have a little bit of freedom out there, you know. And
not feeling confined like the rest of us were.
Yeah, and at this point, like you said, she had moved from Hawaii to California, and California is a highly populated area. Or at least it looks like it to me. Another person had mentioned maybe she went out there to herself, but usually if somebody wants to do that, they want to be found.
Eventually, yeah.
Eventually, and she still hasn't been found. Why would you do it? I don't know.
And why the multiple sightings? And then the strange disappearances when witnesses share their GPS location of where her last sighting was. Or another theory is she just simply went out there to go camping and hiking and an accident happened. A big accident. Like maybe the car, and then she had a concussion. She thought she was fine. She went on a hike and tripped and fell and unfortunately didn't make it. It could be simple as that. So I do have a phone number if anybody has tips for this or any leads, so you can call 209-372-0610. Yeah, so if you have any witnesses that, or if you've met Sandra on occasion while you're out there in Sierra National Forest, please contact the Madera County office and let them know. Drop your location.
Yes, let's try to find her and or remains of her so her family can have some closure, because it's now been 6 years that she's been missing. And her niece is she's still on social media. I was looking at her. She hasn't shared anything lately, but her family is still out there and still looking for her. So if you have any tips or leads, please let the police know.
All right, that's the end of this episode of the Sandra Hughes missing persons case. So if you like this episode, please like, share, and subscribe.